It's on this one. First of all, I want you all to please go watch the original video. First of all, I want you all to please go watch the original video. I want to hear the excuses. I want to hear the excuses from you ignorant, heartless, spineless snakes in the grass to say that that was justified. That Miami police officer, who was white, had any freaking cause to tase a pregnant African-American woman in the stomach until her baby died.
Shalom, shalom, Akim. Call halal yamla, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, the teaching will well. Peace and salutations be to the overflow elect. But I'm coming at you from the Prophets in Babylon camp here in Tampa, Florida. This lesson is going to be going into the police brutality, in which I just seen a video where well, these devils always get away with their brutality against Jake, of course. But even with that, there's certain levels to the brutality that you can that you can tolerate, and some things might, damn, you just beat his ass or you just pistol, But then in this case, it was a video in which they were kneeling down on a pregnant woman's chest and tasing her in the stomach while she was pregnant. Okay, now this goes to show you the hatred of Esau. Okay, this is pure hatred. This isn't, I had to use brute force to get her to comply. Nah, man, this is, I want to kill her baby. I don't want her N-word baby to be born type deal. Excuse my French, excuse my language, Slovakia. It's a deal where Esau wants to see her eradicated and her baby as well. Okay, when you hate someone so much, it gets to the point where you don't even want to see their babies live. Okay, that's why the scriptures say, happy shall they be that taketh and dasheth his little ones against the stones, because the Lord is going to put his anger upon us. The Lord say he hate Esau, so the Lord is going to put his anger upon us for Esau, his righteous indignation upon us to take and do whatsoever he will with these devils, man, to profess his hatred towards them. Okay. First off, we can grab that to prove it. Romans 9:13, where it says, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So there's your proof. The Lord hated Jacob, or Salakia, slip of the tongue. The Lord hated Esau and loved Jacob. Okay, so the Lord loves us, but he hates you Edomites, you so-called white devils. Okay, you deceivers, you demonic minions. The Lord hates you, man, and he's about to profess his hatred through us, as it say here in the book of, I believe it's Psalms. Psalms chapter 137 and verse 9. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Okay, Psalms 137 and 9. That's what that is. So happy, that man gonna be happy to take and dash these baby Edomites against the stones. All right. As it says here, cut off. Right here in the book of Isaiah 14 and 22. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord, YAHAWASHI of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Lord, YAHAWASHI. So these children got to be taken out too. All right, because they're the future of these Edomites. I was watching The Last Airbender, which is a kids show, but it's real spiritual if you get into it. You can look at, with the knowledge we have now and this truth, if you look back at it now, you're going to see what was going on. You see that the Warriors tribe represented Northern Kingdom, so-called Gadites, so-called Indians, but they're really called Gadites. Okay, so-called Native Americans, Seminole Indians, which is really Reuben and Gad. Okay, these are tribes of Israel, of Northern Kingdom. Okay, but they represented the water tribe represented them, and the firebenders, the fire tribe represented. You notice how the waterbenders were called the water tribe, fire, and everybody else was just called benders. Okay, or you had the airbenders called air nomads, but these damn Edomites, the firebenders, okay, which represented Esau, Edom, they were just called the wicked of the earth, the evil, okay, the tyrants, okay, the evil firebenders, all right, and these were Edomites, okay. These definitely represented the Edomites because they ruled with cruelty, okay. They ruled with much cruelty, but there was a scene where they found a baby firebender and the brother waterbender. Okay, his name was Saka. If you know what I'm talking about, the guy named Saka. He was saying, "Get rid of that baby," basically, and they were looking at him like he was crazy. Like, why would you say that? It's just a baby. And he was like, "Yeah, but that baby's gonna grow up to be a monster. He's gonna grow up to be a devil, like a demon. Okay, destroying many lives and oppressing many peoples." Okay, so Saka was in the right. He was speaking righteously. Get rid of the son. Get rid of the little baby Edomite. Okay, because he was going to grow up to be a destructive demon. And of course, the woman. You had the woman and her womanish feelings and shit, her womanish emotions, being all soft and shit. Oh no, it's just a baby. It's just a baby. Nah, that nigga had to go out, man. He had to be taken out. But it says, I'm going to grab this in the book of Zechariah. So you know how these devils really coming. In the book of Zechariah, chapter 11 and verse 5, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. Okay, so our possessors are slaying us and they don't hold themselves guilty. There's videos, which I'll actually put it up in the intro, but the lady that was breaking down the video, she said, "I recommend you go watch the full video." So this ain't even the full video. I've only seen part of the video. And that was all I needed to see to go ahead and drop these scriptures on it, because in that part of the video, all you saw was Jake getting tased, Eve getting tased in her womb while she was pregnant. And they were already kneeling down on her chest. That's enough to crush a man's windpipe. You know, it was because his knee was kind of somewhat in her neck and in her chest. That was enough to crush a man's windpipe, stop a man from breathing, and kill a man. You know, you see how they did with George Floyd. All it took was a kneel. All it took was that knee. Okay, coming down on George with great pressure. That's what they were doing this woman, except she was laying on her back and they had her knee in her throat, in her chest and throat, tasing her in the stomach. No one seeing that she was pregnant and tasing her in the stomach. All right. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, YAHAWASHI, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. So their own shepherds, they say they rich just by having us, because we building up their whole kingdom, right? We building up their whole kingdom. And you got the leaders of our people that are somewhat rich in this world, rich on this side, eating from the crumbs of Esau's table. They don't look upon the poverty of their own people. They don't care. They all about themselves. Okay? They're the leaders that will be considered the leaders of this people, because that's who Jake listened to. Okay? Then you got these pastors and these false pastors, okay, pastors so-called, robbing you of your money. They robbing you already, making you even more broke. I don't care what you got to face in the world, okay? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 73 and verse 5. They are not in trouble as other men. So we not in trouble like other men are in trouble. When we get in trouble, we facing death penalty. When we get in trouble, we facing brutality to the point where you might not make it out of it. Getting your ass beat to the point it might be to the death. You're getting tased to the point you might lose your baby in the process. Okay? That's why these scriptures are used as our guidelines, because I can't just be one-sided in the matter. I know that our people are stiff-necked and hard-hearted. Okay? Jake be trying to read their rights, which they have no rights. The police pull you over, you're supposed to agree with your adversary quickly. Okay? You ain't got no rights here. You got which Jake don't understand that. They think that everybody's equal. They really believe the lie that everybody's equal. That's not true. They are not in trouble as other men. Neither are they plagued like other men. That's why we don't get the same sentences as another man would get, as an Edomite would get. They consider us in their constitution to this day 3/5 of a man. So they don't get punished the same way we will get punished for committing a crime. Okay? If they were to murder a Jake, it will be considered as murdering less than a human. It's not really a human, so you can't really get tried as murder or tried as you murdered a human in such a case, man. Okay? But what really when these Edomites get judged for doing such things, it's because the people are thronging upon the government to do such. Okay? And rioting and uproaring and petitioning against the government, saying, hey, this guy needs to be held accountable for his crime that he committed against the Jake man. Okay? And when they do get punished, they get suspended. They go on suspension for 2 weeks with pay. All right? These devils abuse their power. Okay? These are the modern day Roman soldiers. So back then, we think about Roman soldiers, they were getting away with a lot of things. They were getting away with murder. All right? They were getting away with wounding, getting away with robbery, all sorts of things. These devils were getting away with everything. And they stay up today. I am the law. You know? So that's just a clear sign of over abuse of power. Okay? There's one thing to abuse power, but it's another to over abuse your power. Where you in here killing Jake babies and tasing pregnant women in the stomach, and it says neither are they plagued like other men. Okay? So we don't get the same punishment as these guys, because the Lord's hand is upon us for punishment for what we've done. So we are able to suffer, we're liable to suffer a lot more than any other nation, because we are deemed the cursed of the earth, the bottom of the bottom, the lowest of the low. Okay? They consider us to be the peasants of the earth. All right? With no value. They think that we hold no value, but really we're the most valuable people in the world in the Lord's eyes. Scriptures say, he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of mine eye. So don't think, Esau, for a second that you're going to get away scot-free for the things you've done to Jake. You're doing this to the Lord's people. You think the Lord ain't going to notice? Scriptures say, I'll grab it. In the book of, and Slaki, this is in transit, so BAHASHAM, have patience with me grabbing these scriptures. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 50, and verse 20. We'll start at verse. We'll start at verse 19. Psalms chapter 50 and verse 19. Thou givest thy mouth to evil. Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. So this devil frames deceit against us with his tongue. He speaks lies upon us. Oh, she was carrying 12 pounds of weed. I had to taser. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. Who? Jacob. Esau speaking against Jacob. Us. Slandering us to the Lord and telling the Lord that we did this. Oh, look, Lord, he's eating pork. Oh, look, Lord. But you put the pork in our food. You put the pork in our toothpaste. You put the pork in our bristle brushes to brush our hair. Okay? Oh, look, Lord, he committed murder. He just committed murder against his own brother. He slayed his neighbor. He murdered his neighbor. But you put in the alcohol liquor stores on every corner of our block. You putting the drugs in our neighborhood. Okay? Or you putting guns in our neighborhood. It says, thou slanderest. It says, thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. Thou slanderest thine own mother's son. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such an one as thyself, but I will reprove thee. You thought the Lord was with you? You thought the Lord was going to let that slide? You thought the Lord was on your side? Nah, man. It says, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. So the Lord is setting his people in order before Esau's eyes. That's why you see Jake waking up and rising up against this devil. Okay? Now consider this, ye that forget YAHAWASHI, because it seems as though they forgot the Lord, YAHAWASHI. The way they're doing his people, lest I tear you in pieces, and there be none to deliver. Okay? So the Lord going to tear these devils into pieces, and no one's going to deliver them. Scripture said it's a terrible thing to fall into the hands of the living power. A fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. Salakia. You don't want to do that. Which Esau is in the Lord's hands now. And the Lord's about to judge Esau. The Lord's about to judge Babylon. Okay, Scripture say her sins have reached unto heavens, and her iniquities have, the Lord have remembered her iniquities. Okay, roughly paraphrasing. But she's got to a point now where she has to be judged. She can't get away no more. All right, she done gotten away too long. The Lord suffered with long suffering and patience, this devil, just like he did with Pharaoh. All right. But now it's time to be judged. You're going to pay for all the things you've done. And these things, if we see these things, if I seen that, trust me, the Lord seen that, you know. The Lord sees all things, and he sees what you're doing to his people. So he's getting ready to shake the heavens and shake the earth for his people. Okay? Call halal yamla, Yahawah Shemion Shai, Bashim Kakodash. Truly hope this in transit was edifying to you. Akiman Akwath, listen to truth and sincerity. To the next Nasrallah, I give all glory, honor, praises unto Yahawah Shemion Shai, Bashim Kakodash. Shalom.